has arrived. The son of a dream looking to realize his destiny in WWE. Multiple tag team and intercontinental championship reigns during his first run here in WWE. But now that the prodigal son has returned, Cody Rhodes has reached main event status.
The following is scheduled for one fall, making his way to the ring from Atlanta, Georgia, weighing in at 220 pounds, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes!
Gentlemen, WrestleMania has just become undeniable. After 6 years away from WWE, made a show-stealing return and defeated Seth freaking Rollins.
It was a heck of a debut, but Rhodes has his sights set on the main event of the Showcase of the Immortals. There is no reason.
こんにちは、皆さん。I'm クレイトーカー、ユナイテッドエンパイア。今日は試合があった。そして彼がエンパイアの応援してくれるよ。みんな、ブローキンテーブルポッドキャストよろしく。
I hear the battle cry under the devil's sky. The one-winged angel screams. It fuels my hopes and dreams. The best revolution.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Broken Tables Podcast. I'm your host, Jeffrey Vegas, here as always with our reigning, defending Broken Predictions champion, King Rome. How you doing tonight, sir, on this fine Sunday evening?
Well, I'm doing great. I have been blessed with this guy right here.
Oh, nice. So, funny story. You know how you hate New Jersey?
Absolutely.
So remember when we went to Full Gear in New Jersey and my credit card got declined and my bank canceled my card and everything?
Yeah, I remember that.
So that's the card that I used to prepay for that CM Punk figure, which they didn't charge you for until the day of shipping.
Yes.
Well, that card has not been in existence since the night after Full Gear.
Wow.
So I did not get my CM Punk statue.
Did you try talking to the customer service? Maybe they could
No, they sent me an email. They were like, listen, your card got declined. You can contact us back if you want, and we'll work something out. I was like, we'll see. I was so disappointed. I was like, we'll see. But welcome, everybody. Thank you guys very much for joining us here on this Sunday evening for our AEW Collision review. Man, if there has ever been an episode that just about everybody agrees was an amazing episode, but has divided the fan base like crazy, this was the Collision, man. I was not expecting the discourse that we got in Discord last night from the Discord. Some they were just not happy with some of the stuff going on here, but as a CM Punk fan, I was overjoyed with most of the show. I thought it was incredible. Now, I get it if you're not a CM Punk fan that this episode wasn't amazing for you, but I heard people saying that there's no storyline, and I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, there's plenty of storyline here, and there's multiple directions it could go. he could be going, he could be going after Max. He could be going so many different directions. Like I don't know. I loved everything about it, and I'm sure people had problems with it if you're not a CM Punk fan, but like you should at least be able to see, we got roads to go down here. There's stories going on.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with getting into it when we get to that part of the show, but I'll just say this: if you can't see the potential of the bigger picture, then you just not like I don't know why you're watching AEW.
Yeah.
There's a lot of storytelling that goes on. A lot of it ends up being long term, and obviously people don't always have the patience for it. And I'm not saying that, you know, we've talked about it. Tony Khan doesn't always hit a home run, but his track record definitely gives him the benefit of the doubt. But we can get into that when we get
Yeah,
to
we will. Now, I don't know if you saw this in the Discord here, but we're gonna have to get Coach Nick back on the Hangman train, man. He's kind of fallen off the train. We gotta get him back on the horse and get him back up next to the train and make him hop back
So
on.
I'll say this, and I don't know if he's actually here at the, but I mean I'll say it regardless. I don't know how you sit there and you watch Hangman versus Mox in a Texas death match a couple months back, and then you say you're out on like I'm sorry. Like I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you watch that. I don't know how you watch the whole Elite reunion leading to the Blood and Guts and then the Blood and Guts itself and him and Kenny
Uh,
getting back together. I don't know how you do it. I don't know
that
how you sit there and say I'm out on Hangman Adam Page, the
uh,
protagonist of AEW.
that entrance of Hangman on the horse, that like what was that 2 years ago, a couple days ago, like that was incredible, man. So Coach, be ready, man. This next Hangman story of coming to recover the belt to save AEW from CM Punk, it's coming, man. It's gonna be fucking amazing. At least that's where
I
I'm.
mean, I'm telling you, I feel very strongly about this. I mean, I think that even now having two guys kind of threatening AEW. I mean, like you look at the big picture of like all of these guys that go up against MJF, right? And feud with MJF, minus Adam Cole. They've all been very like, you are not good for this company.
Yeah.
We want this company to thrive. So we are going to oppose you, not just because we want to win the world championships or the world championship, but because we don't want to see AEW fall into your grasp first. That's literally been like the general kind of theme of MJF's title reign. And now you have
Hmm.
CM Punk, who is such a cult of personality that he's going to get those same, he's going to get people saying the same thing about him. He's like it's almost like he's the real life MJF. And I think that
Yeah.
and you're going to get it from both sides. And I think that the stars are aligning very well to have Hangman be the one to beat MJF, but also the one to take the other one.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes. So let's go ahead and get into it here before we talk too much about CM Punk. So we had AEW Collision from Hartford, Connecticut, and dude, my eyebrows went up the moment they said Connecticut. I was like, "Whoa!" I did not realize they were in the backyard. So that was cool, and they definitely didn't hold back. They made a few references throughout the night. It was pretty cool. We started off the show Collision like we always do with promos in instead of the Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. And we had Darby's promo first. Adam Cole and MJF, baby. MJF saying he was going to bash Dax's nuts in had me laughing so damn hard. That was one of my favorite things I've ever seen at the beginning of a show. And then we had FTR cut their promo. And dude, we started off with Buddy Matthews versus Andrade El Idolo in a ladder match for Andrade's mask. This match was unreal.
So before we even talk about the match, yeah, like it dawned on me yesterday, when especially because like obviously I had to work a little late, so I was kind of like heading home. I started Collision like around the time Collision ended, and like maybe it's the honeymoon phase. I don't know what it is, but I am always every single Saturday just like floored all day. Like Dynamite gets me, like, but not every week the way like I wake up on a Saturday and I'm driving to work and I'm
Oh yeah.
listening to Elton John Saturday Night Sorry for Fighting. I'm like posting in the Discord like it's Saturday, like let's go. Um, but just real excitement. And also, I mean, I think that also carried over with this absolutely incredible crowd in Hartford last night.
Yeah, they were really good. I was actually surprised, but yeah, very, very good crowd. And man, Andrade coming out with a new look, huh? Did this come across to you as a new look? It felt very new to me.
I feel like it was just kind of in line with what he like where he's at right now, where I mean, he's a babyface. He's fighting for what
Yeah.
he's his mask, which is his honor, his people, his culture.
Well,
So I mean,
he used to have those pants. It was like those white pinstripe pants. Now he was in black and he had like really long hair with a little bit of a Chris Jericho flare ponytail thing on top, you know? I immediately noticed, I was like, wow, he looks noticeably different tonight. So, oh, let's go to chat real quick. What up, Doge? What up, Michael Duke? What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Dude, but this match, bro, like, I love me some ladder matches. And, we're the Broken Tables podcast, love tables. We had this crowd chanting for tables in the middle of a match where two dudes were trying to murder each other with ladders. I was kind of like, listen, man, I'm all for grabbing a table, but it is extremely unnecessary at this very moment in time. Like, come on, guys.
so first off, Coach Nick showing up after we're done talking about Coach
Yeah, what up,
Nick.
coach?
What up, Coach? Number two, I'm glad you said that because I actually wrote this down too. Like, look, I know we have the namesake of the pod, and obviously, I love when they use tables. However, and it's something that's been happening, not just in AEW, it's just a trend in pro wrestling right now where like the wrestlers will do something that's like an 11.
Yeah.
And then they'll start chanting for a table spot, which as much as I love tables, table spots can vary between like a 5 and like a 12. So
Yeah.
it's like if I see, just for example, one of the spots that happened, like the hip toss onto the ladder that happened early in the match, and then they
That was
started
nice.
chanting, "We want tables" right afterwards. Like, I'm sorry, but the ladder spots are always going to trump the table spots. There's just you like I get it, but
So I
no, like
enjoy when it's a no rules match where we have ladders and tables, but like this was a ladder match and I was kind of like, all right, getting a table involved is a little weird, but I actually did enjoy how they did get the table involved. You know what I mean? Like it didn't really have much to do with the match itself. It was just kind of like a really nice spot at the end,
yeah, it sets up for the finish,
But
which I get. Yeah.
But Buddy Matthews mid-match dislocates his shoulder and they were cutting to commercial as this was going on. And he went over to Doc Samson at ringside and he was like, yo, my shoulder, put it back in. And I'm not sure if anyone noticed, but before he climbed out of the ring, Buddy's arm was literally just hanging. And he goes over to the middle rope and he grabs it and he tries to pop it back in himself. Which I don't know if you've ever popped your shoulder out of place before, but it can happen to me. And it is one of the most painful things ever when it happens. It feels like someone stabs me in the shoulder with a knife, like right when it happens. You know what I mean? And to try to put it back in is like wiggling the knife. So to see him do that, I was like cringing in my seat. And man, as soon as we come back from commercial, it was like it never happened. You would have no idea that even happened. I was so impressed. Coach was like, "Oh, damn," you know what I mean? What up, coach? This is for you, coach, real quick. There you go. This match was amazing. We had a sunset flip power bomb off the top of a ladder onto another ladder that was placed sideways between the ladder and the ring. Like that sunset flip power bomb was insane.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of stuff. This ladder match was just incredible. From the ladder moonsault, like they start off like just Andrade climbs the ladder, does a moonsault blindly, doesn't even turn around to look. He's just like, I'm just going, and we'll see what happens. I thought that was insane. I really love the Three Amigos spot where
Oh yeah.
Andrade's doing the Three Amigos and Buddy stops it. Like, okay, well that's instant heat, so that's great. Um, the arm spot was just nasty. It's like, oh my god.
I mean, it was
I
definitely
don't know
not.
if that was a work or a shoot because it was so well done. It's like I thought the timing was a little convenient. It's like picture in picture. Andrade's like climbing the ladder where like I feel like they wouldn't. I don't think they would have had Andrade climb the ladder if that wasn't a planned spot because you don't know how long Buddy's gonna need. Is Andrade just gonna climb the ladder and like halfway up just be
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Listen,
So I mean, regardless, they sold it very well.
absolutely, yeah. Buddy would have to be the greatest seller on earth because I felt that pain. I thought it was the
Oh, for
realest
sure.
thing as could be. I was convinced.
Yeah, and then like you said, the DDT on the or no, there was a DDT on the ladder spot, which just again just another insane spot, and then that
Oh,
sunset
yeah.
bomb on the ladder, and the way they had it was they had it set up on the rope, so like it wasn't just like a smack, it was a smack and then reverberation up, and I
Sent
was like,
Andrade flying.
yeah, I was like, Jesus,
Yeah, that was wild, man. But Julia Hart was the only one that was not banned from ringside. And she gets involved. She pulls out a pair of handcuffs and she winds up handcuffing Andrade's arm to the ring post, or I guess you could call it the turnbuckle, but either way, he was stuck in the corner. Julia Hart dangles the key in front of him, kind of, like, haha, you're stuck here. And Buddy starts to come after Andrade with a chair. And Andrade kicks this chair and it bounces off of Buddy's face and flies like 10 yards away from them. That had to hurt. And in the chaos of that, somehow Andrade reaches out and grabs the key from Julia. And there was a fan in the audience that you could audibly hear. He goes, "Oh, come on, Julia." It was the funniest thing to me. I could hear it so loud through my TV. So Andrade gets out of the handcuffs and he puts Buddy in the handcuffs into the corner and he starts to climb the ladder to grab the mask. Julia Hart climbs onto his back. And at this point is when I noticed the table. So the table had been placed in the ring, leaning up against the opposite corner that Andrade was climbing up on the ladder. And Julia Hart was on his back the entire climb up. And I thought he was just going to throw her off through the table. I thought she was going to take a serious bump here. But what happened was just fine. He does push her off. Buddy catches her and smashes through the table with her. And Andrade recovers his mask from the top of the ladder. This was so good. And I don't know if the spot was planned, like you said, the arm spot. But I don't think it was. But I think it added so much to this match.
completely.
And it was so good. So good.
Yeah, I absolutely love this match. I love the ending. Just it was so well done with the handcuffs. How Andrade was able to get the key and get himself out, get Buddy in there, and then of course you turn around and Julia's got the bolt cutter. She's just going to town on it. Coach in the chat asks if he thinks that was an audible for Julia to climb up on Andrade's back because she couldn't get Buddy out. I don't think so because it was clearly a plan. The finish was clearly planned to have Julia hit Buddy and they both go through the table. So
Yeah.
I think that he needed her to get up there. So I think that was the.
Yeah, that would have been crazy hard to pull off if they had no idea what they were doing. The way he just flung her over his shoulder and she landed on the other side of the ladder, that looked too smooth.
Right. So yeah, this is an absolutely excellent match. Really awesome opener to the show, and yeah, I mean it was one of the three best things on the show. And I loved it.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. That was incredible match. Buddy is one of the best guys we got in AEW right now, and it's. Would you say he's underrated?
Yes.
Me too.
I would
I wanted
absolutely
to
say
say it,
he's-
but I'm like not sure if it fits. But I really think Buddy is massively underrated.
Well, it's because where he's at, and I don't mean that in like what company he's working for, but if you I mean like they have him in the House of Black where he does end up taking kind of the back seat because
Yeah,
Malachi is the leader, Brody is the big intimidating
monster.
tattooed guy.
Yep.
Julia's got the look and ends up, she's the manager of the group. So like Buddy kind of ends up being like the fourth wheel. I guess that doesn't make sense because there's four wheels in the car.
No,
but
yeah, but
you know,
I
you
see
know
what
what
you're
I'm
saying.
saying. Like, it kind of ends up being the third wheel of this four-man group. But he can go. Like the matches he has are absolutely incredible, and that's why he's been on Collision. I mean, obviously House of Black are on Collision, but this is his second or third singles match on Collision in 7 weeks. So What more can you ask for? Now,
Yeah.
I did notice something really interesting at the very beginning of the match. So when Andrade comes out, um, his name card pops up, and it specifically points out not his AEW 2023 record, which obviously he's only been on Collision, but it specifically says Collision singles record. And I thought that was worth
Oh,
I thought that was worth mentioning. I thought that was a very interesting little thing.
it does feel like we're heading towards more of a hard split than like we'll get to it later, but CM Punk said, belongs on Collision, like stuff like that. So we'll see. Next up, we had Miro backstage with Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone went to ask Miro a question, but before he could even finish, Miro was attacked by Aaron Solo. Apparently Aaron Solo is just making very poor life choices here. What did you think of this?
I mean, number one, I do like how they kind of flipped the script with Miro again for like a second week in a row, where last week he gets attacked by Camarado, which also Camarado is not a part of QTV. I wonder if they're gonna bring him with that little connection. But it's week 2 in a row where Miro gets attacked, and you would think that Miro's gonna get either beaten down or he's gonna have to like escape or whatever, and Miro just turns around, he's like, no, and he just beats the hell out of Solo. So they once again tease Miro's like the big fight that's everyone's waiting for, and I still have no idea what that fight is. I
No.
don't know. And we're not gonna find out yet because it seems like we're going towards a Miro QTV feud,
Yep.
which I don't know if I need that or even necessarily want that. Not that I have a problem against QTV. I just don't know if QTV's heel style is gonna work with Miro. I mean, I don't know. I don't look at Miro as like a full-on babyface. And so I don't know how I feel about it, especially because I just don't know if it works. And I feel like QTV is still kind of wrapping up their whatever they're doing with Hobbs.
Yeah, I was
So
thinking maybe
Coach had said
Hobbs.
it, I was gonna speculate. Maybe they're gonna do Hobbs and Miro. Maybe that's the direction they're going in. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I would book Miro and Hobbs because I feel like those two guys are both at a point where I think they both should be kind of on the winning end of what they do next, especially Miro. Like Miro's been gone for months, regardless of the reason. He's been gone for months, and now he's back. And if you're gonna put him in a program with Hobbs, I mean, I guess I want to see Miro come out on top on that program.
Yeah. Coach asks, is Hobbs even with QTV anymore? Somewhat. Remember, like, so they had their falling out, and QT was kind of like, oh, we'll go to Plan C or whatever, and I don't think we've figured out what that is yet, right?
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Where it's like we're like I don't know where we're at with that in terms
Yeah,
of
exactly. Yeah.
I don't think it's over. But so I don't know. Having Solo attack Miro was kind of interesting, and I don't know if maybe they're just trying to buy some time for something. I don't know what it is. I didn't think it was a bad segment. Again, I thought it was kind of cool to have Miro kind of flip the script where it did not end the way you would think. If I told you that there was going to be a promo and somebody gets jumped from behind during the promo, you would expect that person to get laid out,
Yeah.
and it did not happen. That did not happen.
All right. Next up, we had Darby Allin, who his promo at the beginning of the show was basically saying, I am pissed off, AR Fox, blah, blah, blah. I'm pissed off. I'm going to have a match against somebody tonight. And Darby Allin comes out and he gets into the ring waiting for his opponent. And Rome, let me tell you, when I heard that music start, I literally got up out of my seat and stood up, and I was like, yes, because it was one of the only believable opponents that was going to beat Darby at this moment. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, dude, Suzuki could absolutely destroy Darby right here. This would be amazing. But I'm still happy with the match, but I was just so happy with the opponent for a mystery opponent. I loved it.
Yeah, I was really surprised because again I started the show late, but I stayed offline because I didn't want to know what was going to happen. And when Minoru Suzuki comes out, I was like, oh shit, damn,
Yeah.
really? We're about to get Darby Allin in a singles match against Suzuki.
Dude, the look on Darby's face, he was like, fuck.
Yeah, and, like, right from the start, like, Darby just dives through the ropes at Suzuki, and I'm just like, "Yep, it's gonna be one of those kinds of matches."
Yeah, so yeah, Darby tries to attack Suzuki. The moment we get to the Kaze ni Nare, he attacks Suzuki the moment that starts going. Um, he hits one of those topes on him, and did you feel at that moment? Did you feel like Darby was being slightly heelish?
No.
No, he was
No, I
just
did not.
he was taking advantage of the moment, like the only way he thought he could to beat Suzuki, right?
Exactly, and I think, again, because there was after the show, I went online just to kinda get a vibe check, and people were like, "I can't believe Darby interrupted Suzuki's song, like, did TK not learn?" And I'm like, "You like, clearly, the spot was planned." Like,
They let the
Darby would
crowd
not
say
throw
Kaze ni
himself.
Nare.
Huh?
They let the crowd say Kaze ni Nare. He attacked the moment they finished saying it.
That's what I'm saying, but people were just like, again, it's a lot of bad faith acting
Oh, yeah,
on
exactly.
on
There's a lot of that going on right now. If people don't notice, there's a lot of that going on right now. And it's weird that I'm seeing a lot of chatter on the old Twitter X, whatever you want to call it, of people saying like, "Oh, all the AEW fans have a lot of infighting going on right now." And I'm like, I don't really feel like it is. These are all accounts I've never seen before, you know?
Yeah, I mean, again, I it's good that Ed's on because Ed always says, "Well, you're not using bad faith correctly,"
Yeah.
even though I am using bad faith correctly. I've even looked up the definition to make sure I was using bad faith correctly. But a lot of it does just strike me as like it's a lot of agendas where it's like if you don't like CM Punk, you are looking for every possible way to bash Collision, and you want Collision to fail, but you call yourself an AEW. I think that's just so weird, and vice versa. Like if you're a big CM Punk guy, but you don't like the Elite, you're constantly shitting on Dynamite. And again, like we can like joke about like picking sides and stuff like that, but it's like I don't know, like
The
it's
colliders and the kaboomers.
is weird. I mean, like, yeah, I'm a collider, because my guy's on that show. But like, I'm still watching Dynamite, and I still think Dynamite's a great show, even if I think Collision's been a better show. I'm not sitting here hoping that Dynamite sucks, and it's just I don't know. It's a really weird parasocial thing where
Oh, that's the
it's
first time I've
weird.
used our CM Punk emote. If you guys haven't noticed, we did get our partnership with YouTube. You can now join the memberships for the channel. We got some pretty awesome emotes you can use now. We got the Adam Cole baby. It's my first time seeing all of these, to be honest with you guys. We got the Everyone Loves the Acclaimed and Freshly Squeezed. Oh, that's awesome, man. I love those emotes. I made those all myself earlier today. So, Coach,
You
thank you very
definitely
much for the tips and tricks of everything to help us get to this point on the YouTube, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's
But
awesome. Thank you to everybody for hanging out with us,
absolutely.
sticking with us. I think you picked a great four emojis. I think that those are all fantastic.
Yeah, it took me a minute to figure out what for. I was going with like all Orange Cassidy stuff at first, and then I was like, no, I'm going to spread it out a little bit. And, the more members we get, the more emotes we get. So, that'll be cool once down the road, once we get a few going on. But back to this match with Darby and Suzuki, man. After Darby had his little stint at the beginning there trying to take advantage of Suzuki not paying attention, Suzuki just beat his ass for like 5 minutes straight. Just absolutely chopped the living crap out of him. The chop battle that they had where Darby was trying to take his chops but getting like chopped to the ground was absolutely fantastic. But Darby winds up rolling Suzuki up in I don't think it was the Last Supper, but it was a version of some sort of a roll up. And he gets the 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, here's what it was. Suzuki had Darby in the rear naked choke, and Darby rolled up backwards while Suzuki had him in the choke. So Suzuki didn't realize he was being pinned while Darby was being choked, but the referee counted it 1, 2, 3, and Suzuki was absolutely pissed at the ref. He rolled out of the ring and grabbed a chair and started threatening the ref with a chair. Do you think was that the planned finish? Do you think Suzuki was just kind of acting there, or do you think that was some legit heat?
No, I think that was the plan finish.
Yeah, me too. I just saw a few people wondering if that was legit heat there, but I was like, no, of course that was planned.
Again, I think it's a lot of just people thinking that everything at AEW is terrible. And here's the thing: there is a big difference between being critical about AEW and sitting there looking at the product and saying like, how could it be better? And then there's the doomers, the doom and gloomers, who are just like, oh man, everybody hates everybody. The show's going downhill. Like next week is the series finale of AEW. It's just like, Christ,
Yeah,
stop! It's so exhausting.
it is. So Darby gets the win in my opinion, one of the only believable ways that he would have gotten this win, with a surprise roll up of some sort. And this was a great one. A lot of times you see guys using that rear naked choke and people do that roll up backwards for the pin type thing. And it was really cool to see it actually come across for a 1-2-3 on this one. I actually enjoyed it. So Christian Cage appears up on the Jumbotron after the match, and he basically tells Darby he's going to send him back to Hot Topic or wherever the hell he came from. And you could audibly hear the crowd laughing at that line, and so did I. I laughed pretty good on that one. Love Christian Cage. And what did you take from this? Christian basically said that Darby has to go through a couple more people before they have a match, or is he giving him the match?
Well, so he has the match at All Out. So I think that this
Okay.
is going to be setting up for Darby at All In. Um, I think that was the purpose of the way they set it up. And again, that was another thing where people were just like, "Oh, there's no All In card yet." And I'm like, I understand that they don't have any matches announced, but if you're watching the show, you can kind of figure some things out. And I feel like this was their way of like spelling it out for you. Where Christian's like, "Yep, you have the title shot at All Out, but you should probably finish up your other affairs before All Out."
And at this point,
Well,
it's been at least 2 or 3 years of doing this where some of our shows get booked a couple of weeks out and they've definitely told you what's happening in storyline without actually telling you. You know what I mean? So like I've kind of just become accustomed to it at this point where I'm like, I'm fine with figuring it out and then being surprised at the awesome card. You know what I mean? Like I have no problem with that.
right, and like I think my thing is like, for example, like we had talked about Death Before Dishonor a couple weeks back, and how I said that it was like unacceptable for this pay-per-view card to have nothing announced the week of the show.
Yeah.
And like a big difference there is like, is there a build that you can, like, if you're a regular viewer of the show, are you able to watch the show and figure out how some of the matches are shaping up? I mean, obviously, the week of the show, you need to have matches announced, but we're like in the month leading up to the show at this point.
Mm-hmm.
4 weeks out, like, I don't know, watch the show. Like, they're gonna tell these stories. They're like,
Yeah.
and I think that this is like textbook WWE, like 12-month or 12 pay-per-views a year syndrome, where the way it used to go, and I'm sure the way it still goes over there is you do a pay-per-view. The follow-up Raw and SmackDown is legitimately them saying these are the feuds and these are the matches set for the pay-per-view next in 4 weeks. And then they would do 4 angles based off those matches.
Yeah.
They would announce the match and then build. Where
And
like I think it's better you should
like
build and then have the match.
let's point out the counter of what's happening here. So we got the WWE, right? So they're doing the Bloodline story. They've been building this from WrestleMania to SummerSlam, right? And the last, I think, 6, 7, 8 weeks of Raw have blended into one another as the same exact episode. So you can look at it like that, say, okay, they're planning this SummerSlam way ahead, but it's been absolutely boring, the same shit every single week. So if that's what you want, okay, you know what I mean? But I like being able to have different stuff almost all the way up to the pay-per-view. You know what I mean? Like if he wanted to, we could go all the way up to the week before and have all kinds of stuff going on. But that's not what I'm saying. But you see what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, yeah, I got you.
so I don't know. I'm fine with it. I see how people could have a problem with it, but just try to be more accustomed to it. Seems that's the way Tony likes to do it. So,
And the other thing is that like Tony Khan, in my opinion, has never missed on a paper. I've never sat down at the end of an AEW pay-per-view or a Tony Khan Ring of Honor pay-per-view that I paid for and watched and been like, that was a miss. That was a terrible show. Have there been moments in the pay-per-views that don't land? Yeah. But when I sit back and like think about the entire show, and like this includes the shows that don't have a lot of build going into them. Like I know that like this year, like people were kind of down on Double or Nothing, and like was it a perfect show? No, but coming out of it, like there was a lot to like about Double or Nothing.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Michael says, will there be a watch along for All in London? I'm hoping so. I love doing the watch alongs for the pay-per-views, so that should be, I think we should be good on that, huh?
yeah, so I mean I can officially say, Jeff, that I put in a request off for All In Day,
Nice.
and it's been approved,
Sweet.
which I like that about this job is that like it got like I put it in, and they told me like I didn't have to wait till like that week. They were just like, "Yep, there's no one else who requested off, so approve. We're gonna approve this." So I
Awesome.
already knew I have off. Um, Speaking of which, Dave Meltzer kind of leaked the story, well, not leaked, but just kind of confirmed that a source from Comcast did say that they will be having All In available for pay per view with a $50 price. I think, Jeff, as much as I love Curly's, I think we're gonna have to go halvesies on these pay per views.
Yeah. It's all
Like I'll
good.
pay for one, you pay for the other.
What I'm hoping they do, I'm hoping we get a package deal for All In and All Out for 75. That would be a nice
I
price
don't think
tag.
Comcast do that. I can't see Comcast doing.
Yeah.
Maybe. I hope. And like Coach and I were talking about this in the Discord, where he was like, "Oh, well, what about Bleacher Report?" I can't stand Bleacher Report live. Every time I've used it, I've had terrible experiences. And like Coog's not here tonight, it seems, but like he can attest to it as well. Like there have been shows that Coog and I will both purchase, and we're just sitting there like 45 minutes into the show, and like the show's just not working. It's like
Lame.
It's just not a good service. Bleacher Report Live, Fight
Yeah.
TV, like these services are just terrible. So I'm gonna like I want to order them through my Comcast because that's what I know it's reliable, and I
Yeah.
don't think Comcast is gonna offer it.
Well, we'll see what they do, but we'll definitely we'll work something out there for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next up, we had Tony Storm cutting a nice little promo on a video package, cutting a promo on Hikaru Shida for their match later. And Tony Storm, I don't know if you want to call it cosplay or just accidental dressed up like, but she was a spot on Marilyn Monroe. And me being 80 years old and all here, Rome, I am a massive Marilyn Monroe fan. Like, that was my girl as a kid. So that was awesome to see. I'm wondering if she's gonna do some sort of like going forward. I gotta say, I hate the little roll up things she puts on the top of her head right now while she's been a heel, Tony Storm. So I'd like to see this new look for her going forward. That'd be sweet. Next up,
I mean, watching. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Watching this video package, it kind of dawned on me, and I think Sheeta's going to beat Tony Storm on.
I hope so.
I hope so as well, because it dawned on me that like, man, Sheeta never got a run in front of the crowd.
Nope.
Like she carried that division through a pandemic. She was like the women's world champion, like I think the entire time they were in Jackson, give or take. Like Nyla was for a little bit before that. You got to give Sheeta that run. Like she is a top 3, top 2 in the division, like in the history of the company. So, I mean, like, if you ask me to name mainstays of the AEW women's division, it's like Britt, Sheeta, Riho, Nyla.
Yeah.
And it's been those 4 since the beginning. So, like, yeah, I think you got to give Sheeta her. Out of all 4 of them, Sheeta's the only one that never got any time in front of crowds. So,
yeah, and Nick just nailed it in the chat. Like, she deserves it. For sure. Like when people say like, "Oh, I deserve it," like she deserves it. You know what I mean? Like that's like a factual statement, you know.
Right.
So can't wait to see what goes on there. That's going to be a great match. Next up, we had Samoa Joe versus Gravity. Now I'm not sure I enjoy the Gravity doing his slow motion walk thing. Really? Until Samoa Joe just looked at him like he was fucking ridiculous and decided to murder him. Then I loved it. I was like, dude, this is exactly what I wanted from this match. Um, I like Gravity's thing now because it looks like he's controlling Gravity. You know what I mean? So like sometimes he's moving really fast and he's flying through the air, and then sometimes he's moving slow. So I think he's like coming off as like a superhero who controls Gravity, and I fucking love it once I kind of figured that out.
Yeah, well, I love during this match, Joe does his spot where he walks out of the way. And instead of walking out of the way of a dive, he does the gravity thing.
Yeah, he does like the mocking, like it was so good.
Yeah, I thought this match was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed Gravity's work, and I think that this could also tie into a Bandito return because Gravity is Bandito's brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's
So
right.
I
Bandito
like,
broke his wrist, huh?
yeah, well, again, more bad faith out there where people are like, "Where's Bandito? Why isn't he being used?" It's like, well, he had
Yeah,
surgery.
he's kind of broken, dude. So
Yeah, he had surgery on a
yeah,
broken wrist.
and
I don't know.
Michael Duke here points out my only problem with this match is it was just a little too short. I wouldn't go as far as calling it a squash.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
no,
I wouldn't go
I
that
would.
far, but it was very quick. It might have been 3 minutes, maybe four. I do wish it got a little bit more time, but you know, it is what it is on a 2 hour show when we got a lot of stuff going on, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Samoa Joe, after the walkaway spot, he throws Gravity up on the top rope and hits that muscle buster for the 1, 2, 3. And I thought this was great, man. Love seeing Samoa Joe back on my TV. Fantastic. Next up was CM Punk back in the ring with Tony Schiavone and his red bag. Man, they should have added a red bag to that. We got to find a little miniature red bag. Like, I'll find a little mini red Santa bag. We're going to add it to that.
Well, so I don't remember knowing this beforehand, but it has a little dog collar from the MJF CM Punk promo when CM Punk
I,
is sitting in the ring saying, "Will you be my Valentine?"
I don't remember that either.
Yeah, no, it's so if you look, it's
Yeah,
right
I
there.
see it. Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's got it's even like a little bit of a moment, you know. I love this thing. This thing is absolutely incredible.
Oh, man. I think I'm going to contact him back and be like, all right, charge my new card.
Yeah,
Please.
I fully recommend it. You should definitely one. Um,
So,
so yeah, speaking of which, CM Punk
yeah,
comes
go right
out
ahead, man.
to a, to a new shirt, which I really want that shirt. I like on the back. It's like I'm a collider. It's a really good shirt. And you know, so Tony Schiavone asks him, he's like, "What's in the bag?" Which, like, I guess Tony just hasn't been listening to CM
Yeah.
for the last month and a half. CM Punk says there's been a whole hell of a lot of things going on in AEW. He says, "Hell, there's a lot of things going on Collision." He's like, "But first, how we doing, Hartford? I always make my towns. I just got here 2 hours ago, but I will always show up for the people in the building." And I wasn't sure if that was a knock at someone specific,
I was
but
literally going to ask you that. I was going to say, do you think that was a knock at somebody? Because it felt like maybe at Max.
I mean, like thinking about it, anyone that Punk would have a problem with, I can't off the top of my head think of anyone who like skipped a show like that. I
I mean,
mean,
he could be talking to the elite because they're not there every week, but like that would be a little ridiculous to say that about
I
them, you know?
yeah, but again, I mean, I think at this point we are in it's a work
Absolutely.
territory.
Absolutely.
So him saying that makes sense because he also says that, you know, there are issues going on in Collision, things that no one wants to meet head on. He says, number one, Wembley Stadium. Why am I the first wrestler to mention Wembley Stadium? Maybe I'll wrestle on the card. Maybe we'll know by the end of the night. We did not find out by the end of the night, but the
That
fact
was
is Punk is getting the ball rolling.
that was a shot at Tony right there because I watched that again today. I actually this was one of the first times I've ever watched a show twice. I watched Collision again today.
Yeah.
And he said, maybe we'll find out by the end of the night. Who knows? And he kind of said it sarcastically. That was definitely a shot at Tony for not having the card put out there yet. Or at
Yeah,
least
he
people
talks
talking about it.
right. He talks about Ricky. He's like, Ricky, you beat me twice. I'm disappointed in you on the first one, and I'm not mad for myself, but I'm pissed off for Darby. You're just a cheater. You had to cheat both weeks to win.
Yep.
And CM Punk says, which leads me to my third thing. What's in the bag? Well, I've been left holding it. He says, responsibility sucks because sometimes you gotta do things that you don't want to do because you are the only adult in the room, and I lost my shit.
Did you
when
see
he
Discord what I put?
no, I didn't
I
see
knew
it.
you
What'd
didn't
say?
go back. So right after that line, I wrote Rome is going to have a heart attack when he sees this.
Yeah, I lost my shit. I absolutely did, where I was just like, "Oh, it's such a great line. I love it." And he goes on. He's like, "I said it when I first returned. I'm not gonna be nice anymore. The truth doesn't care if you're nice or right or wrong, which I am right, by the way," says CM, which he is. That's just because he's
Now,
perfect. Look at
when
him back
he
there.
pulled that belt out of that bag, I mean, we knew that it was in there. The crowd knew what was in there, but they reacted so perfectly to him
Mhm.
revealing that belt. Right at first, there's just like, there's almost a silence, and you hear just a few boos start, and then they just erupt in cheering. Like, I loved this reaction from the
Oh
crowd.
yeah.
I thought it was freaking awesome.
So and then so CM Punk, yes, like you said, he takes the world championship out and he says, "No one's beaten me for this." He's like, "This is my championship that I never lost. I never lost in a title match. It has my name on it. It has my blood on it. I earned this title." And I mean, look, there was a lot of discourse here where like whether that was dumb or not. Like I know Ed and I were like going back and forth today. I don't see it as that big of a deal because Ed was like, "Well, as soon as Ricky beat Punk, like that was it. It kind of ruined the story." And I would argue no, because the way they set it up is that Punk never lost it in a title match. I mean, champions not every, champions wrestle, and not every match that they wrestle is a title match. So, you know what I mean? Like we literally just a month ago had MJF and Adam Cole fighting in an eliminator match, which is a non-title match. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see an issue with it. CM Punk says that this belt is his and he will be defending it. Um, he drops the belt to the ground, grabs a can of spray paint, and sprays a giant black X on the belt. He says that he is going to put his symbol on the belt. This X has represented him since 1997. It means that he is straight edge, which means he's better than you. Um, Loved it. I absolutely loved
I
this
loved
part
how
where
he said, "This belt has my name on it, it has my blood on it, and now it has my symbol on it." I was like, yes.
yeah, and again, it's just like, and then he kind of dips into that heel character where he's like, "I'm better than you." Like that's what this means. That's what the symbol means. It's what I stand for. I am better than you. Better than every single one of you in this company, in this industry. Which he also goes on to say that he's like, "This belt's mine. I earned it. It's not stolen." Unlike my catchphrase, which again just made me laugh. Just because obviously MJF says like, "I'm better than you," and like people are always saying they're the best in the world.
I
Just
thought that was a shot at Jericho. I thought CM Punk was shooting at Jericho right there.
well, that's what I mean. I took it as it was a shot at Jericho, but I also kind of low key took it as a shot of MJF because MJF took the devil thing from
Yep, yep,
Punk. He took, you know what I mean? Like he's taken things that Punk's done
yep.
because he's such a student of Punk's work that it makes sense. But
And
the only problem is both of them are in the company at the same time.
Coach Nick says this made him think of Hogan immediately when Hogan did the whole NWO thing, and obviously I think that might be what we all thought here. I mean, it
Oh,
really
for
gave
sure.
that vibe like tremendously.
It definitely gives off NWO vibes, which
Yeah.
if they're going for this Collision versus Dynamite Civil War storyline, this is absolutely the route they want to go. So,
Bro, what if we get like a little CM Punk faction of like who's with me, you know what I mean? And MJF is obviously turning face right now, we'll get to that later, but what if it's like who's with me, with the two belts? I'm okay with that.
yeah, no, I think that is going to be the plan is going to be for Collision to be be a Punk faction in and of itself. Like you're going to
Yeah.
see it where these guys like the seeds are being planted if you're paying attention. Like there are little teases here and there that just like Punk is clearly respected every single person on the Collision roster, and he's you know what I mean. He's always plugging the show, which I know it's his show, but it just seems like he's so
Yeah.
invested in everything that's going on from 8 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern. He is so invested in everything that's going on. Like it's just kind of hard not to assume that that's going to be. case.
Yeah. Whatever they
Um,
do, I got faith it's gonna be good because I mean it's obvious they have a plan. So
yeah. So Ricky comes out before his entrance, which it made me laugh. I thought this was funny. Where he's like, "Hold on, wait a second."
I was
He's like,
confused. I was like, what just happened?
Ricky was trying to be funny, and it made me laugh, so it worked.
Yeah, he was
But so
like, hold
Ricky
on,
comes out.
pretend you guys didn't see me real quick. And he goes to the back, and the commentators acted like they had never seen him. They were like, oh my God, it's Ricky Starks. Dude, I
Oh, yeah,
lost
that
it. Nigel is so fucking funny.
Nigel is so funny. Yeah, and just having Nigel as like the heel comment is so good. Um, so Ricky comes out and he says that the belt should be his, and I really liked this point because that is Ricky, who is he's a top guy on Collision. Like that's just what it is. He's
Yeah.
in the main event most weeks. That's Ricky establishing. Now Ricky doesn't come out there and blow Punk off in that regards. He says, "Oh, that's your title. I want that title," which instantly kind of helps the value of the title.
Yeah.
That like, okay, like yes, this is a who's the real champion storyline. But if you have the Collision guys look at it and they're all in on it, pun intended, um, then that's going to raise both belts. So when you do this unification, it's going to be something.
Yeah.
Um,
We got
and I
David
think
Durham in chat saying, muh, muh. I was hoping he was going to end that with mid. I thought he was going, muh, 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 mid. I don't know what's going on there. Is he sleeping?
he might be sleeping.
Bashing the forehead on the keyboard or something? What's up, David?
Continuing on, so Ricky comes out. Ricky says, "I'm the real world champion. I'm also the face of Collision." And CM Punk says, "You're just a cheater, dude." And he sounds like he says it sounds like Ricky wants a title shot. So they set up for a title match, and Punk says, "Well, you've cheated, and I don't blame the referees. They're just doing their job. But the referees are really the ones who have been beating me." Which again, I love this low key kind of like gaslighting. Like I haven't lost. Like I have lost, but I haven't. And so Punk says that he wants to name a special guest referee, which Ricky accepts. And he says, "You don't have any friends. You got to dig into your past. Maybe go to Stanford and grab someone." Crowd loved that one. Such a
Oh,
great.
so good.
But then the title match is set for next week, and CM Punk announces that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat will be the referee. Ricky has ties to CM Punk from his ROE.
Yeah, so I was going to say here that Ricky Starks kind of represented the fans that said, like, well, Ricky's already beat CM Punk. Why does he still have the red bag? You know what I mean? I was like, Ricky Starks was being you in this promo. He was like, what you have is mine now. He's like, that bag should be mine. So I'm like, I can't believe. So this is where I was like, I can't believe people have so much of a problem with this story that's going right here. Because Ricky was literally being you. Like, if you're the person that had a problem with this storyline, Ricky was you here being like, that belt should be mine. I've beaten you twice. And then CM Punk responded with, but you're just a cheater. And the match wasn't for the belt. You know what I mean? There was no,
Yeah, and like,
it wasn't on the line.
I really don't get why that's such a big hurdle for people to get over. Like again, like he's
Now,
not here.
Let's
I'm not
be
trying to
fair.
throw him apart,
Let's
but-
be fair. We do make fun of the E when they do so many of those non-title matches, right? But it's rarely done here. And it's not like, I don't know. That's my defense. That's all I can say.
I just, especially when you know that AEW generally has bigger picture on the mind, like
Yeah.
to the point where we criticize the show sometimes, where it's just like, man, they have this plan and they're really sticking to it, even if it's sometimes it's a bit of a like, well, what's going on with this angle? And then like we're getting something where it clearly seems like this is going to be built. This thing has wheels. Like we're going to be doing this for a while, and people are just like, "Oh, this is stupid." And like, look,
I get it if you don't like Punk. I get it.
well, I definitely get it if you don't like Punk, because then you just don't like it no matter how good it is. But my thing with it is like, for the record, I don't think that they should have two world champions all the time. If this is the long-term answer, which we have to see how long this goes. We have to see what happens. If like we're sitting here a year from now, and like this is clearly just the plan for them to have two world champions, which the fact that it's not a new belt should tell you that it's like,
Yeah.
did they really like, you think that they were sitting around like, okay, like especially with this TV deal coming up and the presentation that Collision has, You think that they were like, what if we just take the belt we have and just spray paint on it, and this is the new belt on Collision forever? And it's just like, I feel like they would probably just come up with a brand new belt. I also love how the name of the championship is the Real World Championship.
Yeah,
It's like
that's great.
they didn't name it something that sounds really official. They didn't name it like, I don't know, the AEW King Champion. I don't fucking
Yeah.
like they didn't name it something that like would make you think it's another world title. Like it just sounds ridiculous. Like CM Punk's like, I'm the Real World Champion.
The
And like
AEW Galaxy Championship.
I was gonna make that joke, but I decided not to. But yeah, again, I think that like I understand the trepidation of being like, I don't want 2 world championships on AEW television.
Yeah.
Totally get that. And I don't disagree with you. But if you're sitting here and you're just kind of shitting on it without even knowing, like, without even assuming or giving the benefit of the doubt that we're gonna go somewhere with this, like, well,
I
I think you're
will
just
say
you're a bad faith.
I will say I am slightly nervous that, Warner has been stepping in a little bit with, their list of stuff they don't want, and stuff like that. So I am slightly nervous that they've seen what the E has done with Raw having its own belt and SmackDown having its own belt, and then being like, look, we might want our own belt on Collision and our own belt on Dynamite. I am slightly nervous of that, but I have faith that if they're forced to do something like that, that they'll, one, do it well, and two, I don't know what two would be, but
So so my counterpoint to that is once again, okay, well then why wasn't there a new title created? If Warner Brothers said to Tony Khan, "Hey Tony, we need both shows to have world titles to give the champions something to do." Mind you, they've already made it clear that champions are crossing over shows. Like MJF was on Collision last.
Yep.
He was there. He's been on Collision for like 3 of the 7 weeks or whatever, or 4 of the 7 weeks.
Mhm.
Like it's not like the world champion of Dynamite or of AEW, excuse me, is not there. And it's nonsensical. And then again, like you don't think that WBD or Tony Khan or CM Punk or any of these people that are in like these top decision making positions aren't like, well, let's make a new belt. Like, no, this is clearly, and like I saw a really interesting theory. People are saying like if you look at where he spray paints the X, it's over the E, which is the elite on the belt, which I also think that like, well, where else are you going to spray the X except for the dead center? But that also
Yeah.
kind of makes you look at the belt differently, where it's like, oh yeah, I guess the elite are the center of the belt as they
Yeah.
are the center of the company.
I
But
think that was just an awesome coincidence that they knew it
Yeah.
beforehand. They were like, this is going to look great. It's right across the E. You know what I mean? But it was just a coincidence that it was going to be that way no matter what.
yeah, I think that the way Punk sprays it, it really fits that E specifically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that like if you're not looking at the bigger picture,
Bro, I immediately, when I watched that, when he was spray painting the X across the belt, did you immediately imagine the Elite sitting on a couch watching that and being fucking livid?
I mean, yeah, but again, I do think that we're just working. Like
I legit had them all sitting on a big ass couch and being like, what the, like in my head, it was hilarious to me. Like
yeah, I mean, I think it was great. I absolutely love this segment. I thought it was great. It sets up
Yeah.
for next week. Interesting that they're doing the match next week because I thought that they were setting up for All In Starks versus Punk for the real world champion, but that's not what they're doing. So
oh, yeah. We'll see
again,
where they go with
I'm-
that, but I really like the choice for the special referee, Ricky Steamboat. Everybody knows he was just an absolute top-notch guy. He will not be doing anything shady in the match.
right.
That would be the craziest turn ever if Ricky Steamboat went like a 60-year career without being a bad guy or being a heel and pulls off something heel here in AEW.
That would be freaking.
That'd be nuts, dude.
That would be wild.
All right. Next up, we had MJF and Adam Cole, baby, with a nice video recap for their match versus FTR. This was a really nice little video recap, of what MJF and Adam Cole have gone through up to this point. And then we got the Bullet Club Gold and which was Juice Robinson and the Guns versus Vikingo, Darius Martin, and Action Andretti. And Rome, tell me you saw the entrance for the Guns and Juice.
So good. It just fits.
Dude,
Fits like a glove.
that
The guns
entrance.
just fit so well in the Bang Bang Gang. Let me tell you.
I don't know who came up with the idea for them to do the little water spit thing, but as the gunshots in the air, but it looks so damn cool. And then the way that they swirl the camera around them in a 360 and Juice Robinson just standing there like, oh yeah, like, dude, that was one of the coolest entrances I've ever seen on a wrestling show. Absolutely loved it. And then they just go out there and have an absolute banger with these three guys, Vikingo, Darius, and Action Andretti. Now, I got a question for you.
Yep.
Did this team bother you at all, of those three, Vikingo, Darius, and Andretti?
I know that it bothered you. I don't know why.
Why would Vikingo ever be with those two?
Vikingo was literally sitting in a locker room when Orange Cassidy went like this. And he's like, yeah, I'll team with you and Keith Lee. Why would he ever team with Keith Lee and Orange Cassidy?
Yeah, I know. It was just odd.
Sometimes you just got to look at the booking and just be like, right now, Bullet Club Gold, the Bang Bang Gang, Guns in the Juice, they needed a dub. Tony Khan was like, if I'm going to give him a dub, let me also book a great match.
True.
So he called Vikingo and he's like, hey, can you work on this Saturday night? And Vikingo checked his calendar and he's like, I can, amigo. And so he signed for a show. And then they took another tag team, which this is actually a pretty Ring of Honor heavy episode of Collision, believe it or
not. Yeah. And it wasn't noticeably, you know what I mean? Like, if you look real hard, it was, but then you're like, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of Ring of Honor influence, which, I mean, that could also be kind of in response to people's issues with the Ring of Honor product, where they think there's no coherence with the rest of AEW / Ring of Honor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, like, they wanted to have a good match, and it was a really fun match. Like, they, like, I don't know. Like, I know you had an issue with the pairing, but
I didn't have a big issue with it. I was just kind of like, why is Vikingo with these two nerds, you know?
I mean, yeah, but Andretti and Darius are great. Like, they're really solid in the ring.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, they're a tag team, and they wanted a third man, and it was a high-flying trio.
Yeah, I get it. It's fine. I didn't have that much of a problem with it. But absolutely great match here. Juice Robinson for his 7th consecutive week of Collision and absolutely 7 weeks of amazing matches. And I don't know if this is a stretch here, but Juice Robinson, MVP of 2023 right now, man. Like, this dude's amazing.
Breaking news.
Oh. Wish I had a sound.
Dominic Mysterio has revealed that Rhea Ripley
is what?
His favorite snack.
I thought you were gonna say pregnant, dude. I was gonna freak out. I'd be like, "Oh my god!"
Oh no, that would be insane. I would have definitely been a little bit more gung ho. No, that's stupid. Poor Buddy. Buddy, what are you doing, man? You gotta step in. Buddy Matthews getting shit on by a whole company. I can't stand it.
Wow.
Sorry. Continue.
That's wow. All right. Well, the Guns wind up hitting a massive 310 to Yuma on Darius, picking up that 1-2-3. After the match, Juice Robinson had a giant cardboard cutout of Jay White in the ring with him, and he was acting like he was real. And I lost my shit. I was laughing so hard I was crying. Absolutely loved the match and the after with the cardboard cutout. Hilarious. Next up, we had Kiera Hogan versus Mercedes Martinez. And this is where I love the announcers in AEW. If people would just listen sometimes. I was like, why on earth is Mercedes Martinez on Collision right now? You know what I mean? And immediately, as soon as the thought went through my head, they informed us that right down the street on the other side of the bridge from Hartford, where they were having AEW, was her hometown, which is called Brass City. And her submission move is actually called the Brass City Sleeper. So it all made perfect sense as long as you listened to the announcers here. I was very happy with the way that they did that, like they always do. And you know me with Mercedes Martinez. I am not a fan. But I
Mhm.
thought that this match was actually perfectly fine. This was a very serviceable match for the women's division on Collision. And as much as I almost hate to say it, I think we might see more of Mercedes Martinez on Collision.
So I mean, I'm gonna continue with my issue that I just feel like the women's division just overall not being booked super well. Um, this match was fine, like you said.
Mhm.
I didn't really have a lot of issues with it, and I guess you put it on in that death spot where something's got to go on in that
Yeah.
seventh. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, the seventh match or the seventh uh brain fart, the seventh segment of the show. Um, so I get it, I do, but it's just like you wanted to book a women's match, and I wasn't here for the Wednesday review. I was so out on the Wednesday, the Brit Taya thing, the fact that there was no progression there was no program, it was just a match, and that was it. I was so down on it. I was like,
I
why?
posted a standalone video on it. We don't really do that very often.
Yeah, I didn't get to check it out, but because this week is crazy. But
Basically, I went off on saying, like, you had a story in that match. If the
yeah,
outsiders had come out and interfered and had Taya win that match, it made perfect sense and nobody would have had a problem. But Britt just wins the match, no interference from the outsiders. I was like, what on earth was that? Like, I didn't even have any problems with the sloppy first half of the match. I thought the match was fine. It was just like we had a storyline and it felt like 9/10 of the way through, they just tossed it out the window. And I was like, what just happened? But
yeah, I mean, I'm glad we're on the same page with this because I'm just sitting here like, what is going on in the women's division? Like, obviously they did Sheeta and Nyla on Rampage, which is cool, and I think that Tony versus Sheeta is great, and I think the storyline there is really, really good. But
and
like for the rest of the division, like, what is going on? Where like, okay, like it's great that you're having like at least like a match on the card, but like you got to have some substance because if you don't have, again, like we talk about, like I'm a big story guy. Like I there needs to be some stories. Like it's okay to have matches that are just fun wrestling matches, but when you have Britt who is currently in an unresolved storyline with a faction and you just kind of like do like 2-3 weeks of like what was the point? Why did Britt have a squash match on Wednesday to lead
yeah.
to Taya challenging Britt to lead to them just having a match and then like that was it? And it's like, oh.
Well,
And
here's
then
another
they
thing
come
that
out.
I kind of triggered in my brain while I was making that video, actually, and I wish I had said it in the video. Who do you remember us being told is booking the women's division?
Kenny, but it's not Kenny.
That's exactly what went through my head. I was like, man, people are pointing at Tony here. But last I remember, we were told Kenny, but I don't think it is anymore. I'm pretty sure it's not.
I think Kenny is right now, but I think so. People were. I saw a really interesting tweet where people were pointing to last year's Owen, and they were like, "Man, why can't Kenny be booking the women again? Like when he booked this?" And
Hmm.
like Sean Ross Sapp actually pointed out to this person, I can't remember who it was, but he was like, Kenny wasn't even with the company at that point because he was healing his injuries. Like that was a Tony Khan booked women's division, and I don't know. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know what's going on. And again, we've speculated. Could it have been that they had plans for Mercedes Monet come in, like, and then the injury messed it up? Like, dude, I don't know. 2023 has been such a weird year where like with
Yeah.
for the women's division specifically, where I just feel like the company in general is really firing on all cylinders, but then you get to this women's division and it's like there was a few months there where like they were just on fire and I was so into everything they were doing and now we're kind of just like I just feel like the wheels are spinning and like it sucks because Jamie Hayter's out and Dave was saying that Jamie might not even be back for All In because it's that bad apparently. So like that sucks. Like that's obviously a blow to their plans.
Yeah, that bummed me out.
I'm sure they had Jamie defending the title at All In. I'm sure that was the plan all
Yeah.
along. But like so yeah, you have to make changes and adjustments and like I understand that like you have grand scheme of things that you don't want to adjust, but I'm sorry, I can't give a pass to like the last like I'll even just say I'll be nice and say I can't give a pass to the last 5 weeks of women
So
on the show.
I'll give a small pass to this match here because it did actually progress some storyline after the match. So Mercedes Martinez puts Kira Hogan in the Brass City Sleeper. And after the tap out, she would not let go. She kept her in that sleeper for a good, 15, 20 seconds after the bell. And we had Chris Statlander come running out for the save. Now, not sure why Statlander is helping, a former baddie, but it is what it is. So Statlander comes out and she actually gets laid out by Mercedes Martinez as well. And then Willow comes out for the save. So I'm wondering if we're getting a little bit of a shape up of the Collision women's division here. It looks like we're going to have Mercedes, we're going to have Statlander, we're going to have Willow. So if that's the case, like they're building this here, and they did build a little bit of a story between these 3 or 4 girls. So that's where I'll give it a little bit of a pass. The Brit Taya thing, 0. Zilch, like nothing. There was no story there. It was gone.
Right, and you're right. I mean, like, I will give it that it is setting up for a TBS title match with Statlander and Mercedes. So, like, I get it. So, like, you are correct. I do give it, like, a slight pass.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I just feel like if you were gonna... I just feel like you could have done...
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I don't argue with you there. But let's move on here. Next up, we had the main event, MJF and Adam Cole, Better Than You, baby, versus FTR. And, I kind of realized it as MJF and Adam Cole were going to come out. I was like, FTR gets booed here. I just had a feeling they were getting booed. And sure enough, man, MJF, Adam Cole come out to massive, massive pop cheers. And FTR get booed, at least 50-50. You know what I mean? What'd you think of FTR getting booed here?
I mean, it's exactly what I said was gonna happen.
Yeah. It felt inevitable. It really just felt like obvious it was gonna happen.
So I mean, yeah, I don't know how I feel about this. The match itself was incredible, and there's a lot to love here. But like, my initial walking away from this was just how fucking lame it was.
How what?
How fucking lame it was.
Like the entire thing or just the finish?
The finish.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. That's what I'm at as well.
And like, I'm just, again, because the match was great, but a bad finish can kind of ruin a match for you. And like, I kind of feel that way at the end of this. And like there was clearly some course correction, because they do a can they coexist storyline, and the answer is yes. Adam Cole and MJF can coexist. They just came up short. And obviously MJF saves Adam Cole from the Shatter Machine. And
yeah.
I think that's all like really great storytelling. But for me, like my initial reaction, and I feel better about it now than when I did even this morning. But I was pissed last night. And then this morning I was bummed out about it. Now I'm cooling down a little bit, and I'm just like, all right. I mean, like, it's good because I did like how Cole thought that MJF was going to turn on him. He's like, just do it, man. Just hit me with the belt. And he doesn't do it. And so, again, like, there was some stuff that I really liked about that. I like that they didn't break up. But it's kind of like, okay, well, are you booking yourself into a corner here where, like, where are we going? Where it's, I don't know, like, it just came off as tone deaf to me, where it's like, this is the hottest act of the summer. And it was like flashbacks to when the Acclaimed didn't beat Swerve in Our Glory at All Out.
Yes.
And they course corrected, they did, and they had a great moment in New York at Grand Slam a month later. And that was fine. And like, I look back on it, like, it was still a great feud and a great moment for them in New York. But I was left sitting here just like, it's not that FTR aren't over, but it's like FTR are nowhere near as over right now as Adam Cole and MJF. And I feel like there would have been a lot of interesting storytelling you could have done to continue this, and you give them that moment, and you could sell more merch, and there were so many reasons to do it.
Yeah.
That, like, in the hindsight, and again, we're not even fully in hindsight yet, so I shouldn't even say in hindsight. But just like sitting here like a day later, it's like we're 23 hours after the show happened. And I'm just like, I'm bummed. Like, it just didn't, I don't think that was the right call. I don't think that was the right call at all.
No, I agree. Well, so This is a tough one for me here because, you know, I'm a big FTR fan. I'm also a
Mhm.
huge fan of this Adam Cole and MJF pairing. And you know, you heard me last week. We were both saying it that they need to call an audible here, and we both thought that MJF and Adam Cole should have won this match, right? So it looks like they called the audible, but they didn't go that
They didn't
far.
commit to it.
You know what I
Yeah, they
mean?
didn't
They just said, okay, we're not gonna break them up here, like, but we're not taking the belts off of FTR. And the end of this match for me, I was massively into this. I was waiting for how are they going to pull it off? Who's going to get the pin, Adam Cole or MJF, you know? I was like, where's Roddy at? Is he going to come cost them? What's going on here? And you know, we'll go through it here real quick. So, MJF sets up Dax Harwood for an absolute nut bashing. What did Dustin Rhodes call this when he had somebody in the ropes with their legs spread open?
Shattered Dream.
Yeah, the Shattered Dreams. I mean, he was as close to a Shattered Dreams as you can get. And MJF absolutely does bash Dax Harwood's nuts in, but he only gets a 2.99 on this one. And Dax winds up pulling a roll up, just a normal, everyday schoolboy roll up, but he pulls MJF's tights, and Dax Harwood pins the AEW champion to get the win with a roll up. MJF sinks into the corner, almost crying, screaming that he blew it. He blew it. And Adam Cole is in the corner consoling him, like, it's cool, man. It's cool. We just weren't good enough today. Like, I loved the Adam Cole consoling him thing because it really confirmed to me that this story is going to keep moving. But I really wanted them to win, man. Even as a huge FTR fan, I really wanted them to win. And as soon as the ref's hand came down for 3, I was just like a deflated balloon. Like I was amped up, and then it was just like, I was like, oh man. And it feels weird, like to be a huge FTR fan and like be disappointed that they won a championship match feels very weird in my brain. But I was just deflated, you know?
But that's how you know that the wrong people
Yeah.
won.
But this is one of those times where I would say, let's see how it plays out. And maybe in the future, I'm going to be like, that was a great choice, you know, but we have to see. So,
And look, like, I don't want to completely shit on it, so I'm not going to, because there's a lot here that I really like in a storytelling perspective, right? You have MJF, and really, if you look at MJF's character throughout the entirety of the character, like, he's a tragic villain.
yeah.
He's got so much trauma and so many reasons why he's messed up. You know what I mean? Like, from the story about, like, the girl that I guess he killed in the car, and to, like, his heroes abandoning him. Like, you know, CM Punk leaving wrestling, and, like, he has so many things that lead to this villain story. The William Regal, like, thing. The Samoa Joe thing. Like, there's so many things that, like, make MJF a tragic character. And for them to roll with it, where it's like MJF did not want to turn on Adam Cole here, like, it shows to that tragic character. So, like, I really love that. Where you do this thing where it's like, no, MJF did not turn on Adam Cole. Like,
yeah, and
they didn't do that.
The way Cole turned around and kind of just was like, do whatever you got to do, Max. I wasn't expecting that, but I thought it was a nice little touch. Like, it was like Adam Cole expected him to do it because of all the bad things like Roddy in his ear and this and that. But then when he didn't do it, it was, I really liked that. And then the crowd, hug it out. You know, that was great. I loved it.
Yeah, well, I think that it just goes beyond that. So Adam Cole knows that, like, at this point, they've lost the tag title shot. So now MJF has officially nothing to gain. So when Adam Cole, being smart, and again, I appreciate that Adam Cole was not a dumb geek here, where, like, he gave MJF the benefit of the doubt, but he still understood what MJF could do and would do given the opportunity. When Adam Cole realized that MJF is standing behind him with the belt, he's like, I know this. I've seen this before. I know what's going to happen. Do what you got to do. And, like, look, as far as, like, course correction goes, like, that was a excellent, and I'm glad that it happened. Like, if FTR was going to win, this would be like the one way to do it where I come out of it feeling like, okay, yeah, I'm disappointed with who won, but there's a lot of good to look at this in a story sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm interested to see where we go from here. MJF is booked for Dynamite to do a promo. He's already guaranteed Adam Cole a title match, which I'm assuming we'll see it All In, maybe, or All Out. I don't know. I'm assuming All In. But yeah, I mean,
So
that's where we're at with it.
so after the show, there was a little interaction with Dax, or with FTR and MJF and Adam Cole, baby. And there seemed to be a little bit more of an interaction with MJF and Dax here. Do you think we possibly see Dax get a singles title shot at MJF at maybe All In or All Out because of his pinning the world champion? Like, you could argue that he deserves a title shot, you know?
Well, I mean, I for one can't believe that a world champion got pinned and he's still the champion. Like, guys, what
Oh
are
my
we
God.
doing? What are we doing here? Why is MJF still the world champion? Even though he got pinned. That's bullshit. Makes no sense.
But I thought overall this was a absolutely amazing episode of Collision. Even though I was deflated at the end, I still walked away like, man, that was a great episode. You know what I mean? Like, that was an emotional roller coaster from beginning to end. Absolutely loved that episode of Collision. Tremendous. I thought it was fantastic.
You want to laugh at WWE for a little bit?
Go for it.
So right now they got their NXT show going on, the Great American Bash, because all NXT has done in recent years just rip off WCW pay-per-view name. So I guess Baron Corbin was wrestling. I didn't catch who he was wrestling, but was it Gable Stevens, or was Gable Stevens like, I don't know. Regardless, so it was a double count out. Fans were chanting bullshit. The fans have already turned on Gable Stevenson, saying they were chanting "You aren't Angle," and they were just completely shitting on him. Someone responded to Brian Alvarez. Brian Alvarez said that the fans have already turned on Gable Stevens, and
Oh, wow.
someone said, when Baron Corbin is getting better reactions than you, it's not looking good. And someone else responded with, it's like, it's because we want Baron Corbin to get pushed more. And I'm like, what? What is going on? So yeah, that's what's going on over there.
Must
Baron
be
Corbin.
fun to be a NXT fan. Woohoo.
Oh, I guess it was Gable Stevenson versus Baron Corbin, yeah. And
Oh,
the
man.
fans, they
So-
turned on Gable Stevenson to cheer for Baron fucking Corbin.
And if you don't know who Gable Stevenson is, he is the gold medal winning wrestling champion for the United States. Wants to be the next Kurt Angle.
Angle.
But he was in the heavyweight division. Like, he moves differently. So it is what it is. But what do we have going on for Dynamite this week?
Well, so this week we have Dynamite 200 is the 200th episode of Dynamite.
Oh,
Chris
yeah,
Jericho and
Dynamite 200.
Nosuke Takeshita will be taking on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. Side note, it was Sammy Guevara's birthday this past week, and Jericho tweeted at him like, "Happy birthday, Sammy. Please answer my text." We will also be getting Jack Perry face to face with Jerry Lynn. Anything goes in a three-way dance between John Moxley, Trent Beretta, and Penta El Zero Miedo. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship will be on the line when Aussie Open defends their titles against El Hijo del Vikingo and Commander.
Woo!
Be a
Where's
banger.
Coog at, man? Woo!
We also have the AEW Women's World Championship, Toni Storm versus Hikaru Shida. Set up for Collision next week. FTR will be defending their tag titles against Big Bill and Brian Cage. CM Punk will be defending his Real World Championship against Ricky Starks, with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat as a special guest referee. Chris Statlander will be defending her TBS title against Mercedes Martinez as well on Collision.
Nice, nice. Well, we got a good week of AEW coming up, man. That's gonna be nice. I'm sure we're gonna have some builds. I'm sure we'll see some matches starting to take form here for All In and All Out. But you want to go ahead and close us out, sir?
Absolutely. This has been episode 162 of the Broken Tables podcast. Thank you to everyone hanging out with us here tonight in the chat. Thank you to Coach Nick, alongside with David Durham. Michael Duke was here for a little bit. The Doge was here as well. Make sure you subscribe to us. Am I saying that right, Jeff?
It would be join the membership.
Join the membership. Okay, I'll have to add that to the shtick.
Yeah.
Make sure you join the membership so you can be a part of us. You get all those emotes and get the little badges and all that cool stuff and stickers and whatnot. Make sure you follow us on our social medias. Twitter. I'm gonna call it Twitter. I don't care what it's called. It's Twitter.
Yeah,
Apparently, everyone's phone's updated to like the X, and like mine hasn't yet. So I'm like one of the last few remaining Twitter users. I don't know what to call it. So I'm still holding out, you know what I mean? But
Yeah, I don't like how it doesn't ask. I'm like, I didn't want to update it.
yeah, I know it's forcing. Like, did it force you?
It just automatically changed. I didn't update anything. It was just automatically
yeah,
that way when I woke up.
Look, I'm still a Twitter kid. Look at that.
Nice.
Bam. I'm one of the last survivors.
Even
It's like
TweetDeck has an X now. I'm like, is it gonna be called X Deck?
Yeah, Coach says his hasn't either. Anyways, yeah, make sure you follow us on our social medias in the description down below. If you like video games, we will be back tomorrow night with the Game Room podcast. We will also be back on Wednesday with our Dynamite review. Jeff, my collision review. We might have to do Sunday again if possible, but we'll figure that out. We'll talk as the week goes on. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Everyone have a great week. We'll see you tomorrow on the
Right
Game Room
on.
Pod.
Thank you everybody very much for being here. We will catch you guys later. Top guys out. The outro button didn't work. I guess I have to do it myself. Later, guys.
Oh wow, we're still live. Jeez.